Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dill, I am fired up to get into this conversation. Yeah, Alex Golesh at Auburn. It's going to be a very busy next 2 months. Now, I think a lot of the attention of Alex Golesh is focused on, number one, what's my coaching staff going to look like in 2026? Hand up, I'm a fan of what this coaching staff is starting to look like, most notably DJ Dirk, now defensive coordinator. Dill, number two, probably got to evaluate and sit down with a lot of the players on this roster. Let's just be quite frank about it. Like, there's a lot of young football players on this team that are earning every cent of which they're getting to play. There's also a heck of a lot of football players on this roster that are getting paid a lot of money to play for Auburn that probably are not worth the amount of money that they're getting. And Dill, I think you're already starting to see some of those players, for lack of better terms, maybe get processed out. I think most notably a guy like Perry Thompson. Where does Auburn's roster sit right now? What might it look like over the next couple of weeks? And I want to talk about, hey, who are some of the most important players to retain going into 2026? Because I'll die on this hill. There is so much young talent that I really like on this roster. What are the positions we need to address in the portal? I got some names that I think would make a lot of sense for Auburn going forward too. This is a nitty-gritty roster building conversation. The best part about doing this episode, especially in December, it's only the sicko Auburn fans who are going to be listening to this. So I got two things. Number one, please let it fly in the comments section. I built this depth chart. If there are some changes that need to be made, please let it rip. The names that are highlighted in red are the names that are graduating, don't have any more years of eligibility. The thing that stands out to me the most, hey, we got to get this offensive line right. And so if you're Alex Golesh, you're focused on, we need enough resources in the chamber so when that portal starts getting filled up with some offensive linemen that we think can start in the SEC, we got to be ready to make some moves. Because that's the one position to me that jumps out and say, hey, we got to get right going into 2025. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Dill, let's start at the top here. Are you all aboard the Deuce Night train rolling into 2026 here?
Yeah, and that's always going to make this a tricky spot for this Auburn team because I look like I still would really want to bring in another quarterback because, again, that room just didn't play good enough football. But that's where Auburn's going to be in that tricky spot. And I'm kind of wondering what Alex Golesh is kind of thinking here. Like, is he all aboard the Deuce Night train? Because we haven't necessarily heard him exactly commit to Deuce Night. Not that I necessarily would have expected it. But that's where you get. Like, if you're all aboard the Deuce Night train, how do you bring in another arm into that room? I think you have to.
If Ashton Daniels is going to stay on this roster, I don't know if it's as big of a need as you might think. Here's the conversation to me. Deuce Knight, Byron Brown, who are you taking? I'll give you the T-box. I have some takes of my own.
100% Deuce Knight. I'm not as big of a Byron Brown fan as his numbers, I think, say you should be.
I think that's fair.
I always watched, there was always something not pretty looking about what he was doing.
Yeah,
again, I like that Alex Golesh put a lot of talent around him, and he is a really good play caller. And I know he produced, but again, and it's not. I know you're just his release.
The elongated release is.
But he doesn't strike me as a wildly accurate quarterback. I don't think his speed and athleticism is going to translate incredibly well to the SEC level. Okay. So I think yes, he definitely feasted at USF, but I don't know that I see
I'm not going to push back against that. What I'll say is this: it shows you how good of a coach Alex Golesh is, because I kind of I don't know if I'm as out on Byron Brown as you are, but I'm certainly not in on him. Right? I think it shows you how good of a coach Alex Golesh is.
I don't think it's that dissimilar to a Joe Milton. Joe Milton put up okay numbers at Tennessee, even he's not a very good quarterback, I wouldn't say. But in that offense, quarterbacks can put some numbers up. I look at Byron Brown. There's just something about it that doesn't feel like big time football.
And look, I think he's hard to bring in too. If you wanna ride with Deuce Knight, if you want to have Deuce Knight on this roster in 2026, Byron Brown's got 1 year of eligibility left, and he's already used his redshirt year. It is hard to convince him to come in with his last year and say, hey, you got to go to battle with the quarterback that me and you both think is probably going to be better than him in 2026.
Well, and that's going
You're
to
in
be
a
the spot they're in. Like, I think if you, in an ideal world, you could bring in like a Mikey Keene type player, like the Fresno
well,
quarterback.
that's why I'm pushing. But you got a guy, Ashton Daniels, who you purposely redshirted so you can come back for one more year. Why do you think there needs to be a third veteran quarterback on this, or a second veteran quarterback on this roster? You got a
Yes.
freshman coming in. Hey, I, I guess what it comes down to me, you got to pay these quarterbacks so much goddamn money. Like there are other positions we need to get right. We already got our quarterback, and look, let's just be frank about it. Your quarterback goes down, you probably ain't doing what you want to do anyways. You got to pour into Deuce Knight, but you have to make sure this cat has enough around him. Let's go to the offensive line. This is my biggest concern here because there's just not that many offensive linemen that are going to enter the portal that are going to be SEC caliber offensive linemen. And you got to replace a lot of production here. Xavier Chaplin's got one more year of eligibility. What say you there?
Well, honestly, the level he played at last year, and maybe just the offense in general, makes me
Yeah.
think there's a pretty good chance you can convince him to come back. Because
Well,
I don't think he played first round level ball. I think he has first round level talent. Again, I
yeah,
don't know exactly what was the cause of all that, but I do think there's a
hearing.
world where you could say, look, you still make money while you're in college at this point in the game. Go be a first
Yeah,
NFL round draft or first round NFL draft pick. And I think to me, he has that ability, and just
sure.
it didn't happen last year.
That is one of those conversations where Alex Golesh needs to sit down with Xavier Chaplin and say, hey, like whatever you were getting paid last year probably needs to change a little bit, and that's just fair, right? Because he goes to the portal, he's not going to command the money he was commanding 12 months ago when he came from Virginia Tech. But he is a guy that he's built like an NFL tackle. These cats don't grow on trees. Connor Lewis, like you talk about one of the most important players to retain. If you can convince Connor Lou to come back and kind of glue this thing together, he was a day 2 evaluation before the injury. I don't know how much that impacted his evaluation. If you can get Connor Lou back, he might be the most important player to keep around in 2026 because when you have that guy at center, it's going to be a lot of new faces starting on this offensive line. Matters.
And again, they have some young, talented players, so I don't think this is like a full scale overhaul. Like some teams are gonna, like South Carolina. To me, as a team, I look at they're gonna have to bring in like 10 new
Yeah,
guys
sure.
because there didn't feel
Sure.
like any guys really were playing at
Well,
that
we
level.
don't know how many of
Well,
these
no,
guys
I do think that's like a thing that everyone says. Like, well, if you don't know what production you have, then we
yeah,
need to full scale redo. It's like,
yeah.
in fairness to Hugh Freeze, he didn't do a ton of things right. He did recruit pretty well, and I feel like the talent and pipeline in that offensive line is not horrible. You just had a ton of veteran guys who
Yeah,
stayed.
the problem with Alex Golesh and taking over is he's not really sure. He's never seen these guys practice, right? He's not really sure what he has. Now, if it was the old coaching staff, you have a better feel like, hey, we're the guys that might be ready in 2026. This is a position where I'm trying to make it as much competition as possible. And there are a couple of names that intrigue me, man. I mean, here's a guy, and this would be to me one that makes sense. Jack Layer from Stanford. Now, am I going to get up here? We'll only watch the one game of his. Am I going to get up here and say this kid's awesome? Absolutely not. He's played left tackle. He's made starts at left tackle, right tackle, left guard, and right. He's played every position on the offensive line outside of center. Like that could be really valuable as you're trying to put this thing together in the portal in 2026. There's another guy, legit starting experience in the SEC in Connor Stroh. Like it was not great from this cat. There were some solid games that he put on film. It was a little bit more inconsistent than you would like. The reason I bring him up is there just ain't going to be a lot of guys in the portal that have experience starting in this conference. And when you have the ability to maybe bring one in, maybe that's what you try to do.
Yeah,
To
because
me, it's
that's a position I'm really interested to see what you can even do there. Because you're seeing some guys trickle in, but really, aside from that Arizona State kid, I don't know that
Josh
you feel like
Atkins.
you have a ton of like
Yeah,
legit
agreed.
starting tackles, especially in
And
this.
look, I don't even know if Josh Atkins looks solid in the Big 12, brother. They a little bit different in this conference, playing on the offensive line. It's my biggest concern, and that's I guess the conversation I want to have where you're doing a little bit of like trimming the fat and making sure you have enough resources to effectively build an offensive line. And here's the advantage of Alex Golesh. He's built some offensive lines, albeit at the G5. He's built some offensive lines in the portal. You're going to need to get this right in 2026. Wide receiver position. I still think there's plenty of talent. I mean, you keep Cam Coleman for one more year, and we'll see if that plays out. But I love him. I mean, everybody talks about Cam Coleman. We got to be talking about Malcolm Simmons a little bit more, man. There are some young cats on this roster. Sam Turner got a ton of buzz in fall camp. I'm not worried about wide receiver. There's actually a wide receiver I love at USF, by the way. And I want to get his name right. Keyshawn Singleton, 6'3", 215 pounds, like really fits what USF and Alex Golesh want to do on offense. This one would make a lot of sense. I ain't concerned about wide receivers. There's going to be a line out the door to play in this Alex Golesh offense. There's also a running back, though. The Kai Davenport, this kid can run the rock. There's actually a couple of players at USF specifically on offense that I look at and say might make a lot of sense. I've seen the Auburn fans, and I'm sorry I'm rambling a little bit, that are talking about the tight end position. They got a former blue chipper and Jonathan Eccles. I think he's playing the wrong position. I remember this kid out of high school. He could have been just an elite edge rusher, in my opinion. Decided to play tight end. Was solid as a redshirt freshman, but's got 3 years of eligibility remaining, still learning the position. That one would make a lot of sense too.
When it's a tight end like that, you need a certain flavor because it's really not like a traditional inline tight end. It is very much that H-back role. And I look at Auburn. I don't really see like Preston Howard. I do not think
he can't be on the team next year.
Really, to me, like this is probably a surefire position that I think they're going to address because I don't think they have that role. Like they need a true H-back because that's really just how Alex Golesh plays that spot.
Now, on defense, there's only one position that really concerns me. Right? So I look at that backer room, and one of the best back rooms in the country next year, right? You got one of the best backers in the country, period, in Xavier Atkins. Elijah Melendez is going to be a stud. Bryce Lee is going to be a stud. Secondary, even if some of these guys leave, I should take Rayon Strader out. He's going to transfer out. I still feel fine about what this secondary is going to look like. The one big concern I have is along that defensive line. A lot of really good football players going to be leaving, right? Keldrick Fall, Auburn can try. He's probably going to the NFL draft. Jamison Travis gone. Walker, both Walkers gone. Jay Hardy, who stunningly played some decent football for Auburn, he's going to be gone too. It's probably your biggest concern on the defense side of the football.
Yeah, especially like depending on where Malik Autry and Jordan Crawford are at, because we didn't get to see a ton of them, and that's the position you look at. It's hard to address in the portal. I do think Darian Smith is a really interesting one.
Ball player.
He play normal defensive tackle because I think we got to see him rush the passer, and he's obviously really, really good at that.
Yeah.
But can he give you like 30 to 40, like just normal football snaps? That's probably the question.
And here's the thing with Auburn is you need depth at this position. Yeah, like we're gonna run fast. We gonna run fast on offense. There'll be a little bit more extra possessions for Auburn in 2026 than we saw in 2025. You're gonna have to play a little bit more, which means you want those big bodies rotating a little bit more. Look, there's a lot about this roster that you want to keep the same. There's a couple of positions that we need to get right. If you get those right and Deuce Knight hits, there's a pathway, man. And we'll start talking about it a little bit more because there will be some more attrition, and we'll have an updated lens of where the positions Auburn really needs to get or address, I should say. I'm really, really excited to see what it looks like from Alex Golesh over the next 2 months. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. To the Auburn fans who rock with this program a lot, please let it fly in the comment section. Biggest positions of need. Let it rip. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.